In this video, I'll be covering preparing tatami mats for cutting from rolling them to spiking them to a stand. Cutting and reading tatami will be covered in another episode. The link is in the description. There are multiple different styles of tatami, from cheap beach mats to used Japanese checker button style tatami. Beach mats and cheap mats from Alibaba are generally too soft to be that useful. On the other hand, I've heard that used checker button style tatami is rather difficult to cut, so it is only recommended for more advanced practitioners. I have personal experience with two different brands of tatami omote. Links to both of those are in the description. The Tauforge mats are a bit tougher to cut than the 9 circles ones, and they are also the ones I personally prefer. It doesn't mean that the 9 circles mats are bad, I just personally prefer the Tauforge ones. For those of you in the States, I was going to recommend Mugen Dachi Tatami Omote, but apparently it is no longer available. I went and asked around, and apparently there is no replacement yet. If I'll happen to hear about one, I'll be adding the link to the description. If anyone happens to know a source for high quality tatami in the States or any other area outside of UK and EU, please leave a comment down below and I'll add the link to the description. For a first time cutter, I would recommend 2 or 3 mats. If you soak more and have a very limited amount of cuts you can perform, and you can't actually get those through, you will be wasting your mats. You will be also getting more and more tired the more you cut, especially if you keep failing your cuts. And that will only lower your performance, and again, you will be wasting your mats. Get your tatami and some rubber bands ready. You can also use cord or something similar to tie the mats, but I find rubber bands to be the easiest by far. Lay the tatami on the floor. Fold it over. You want the fold to be away from you. Do not press the fold as it will shift. Even out the edges. They don't have to be absolutely even, as tatami is not usually absolutely straight. Turn over roughly a finger's width of the tatami and press the fold. Having your knees over it makes this easier. When the first fold is properly made, you can just start rolling the mat. Try to keep it relatively tight, but it really doesn't need to be super tight. Stick the rolled mat between your legs. This keeps it from unrolling while you tie it up. Again, I recommend using rubber bands. I have large ones, so I double twist them. Have the mat tied up at 5 points. The rubber bands should be spaced out evenly. If you can't stick your finger in it, it should be good enough. It will swell a bit while soaking and get tighter. If you roll thicker targets, such as double, triple or even thicker ones, you want to add the extra mats inside the first one instead on top of it. Basically lay all of the mats you want to use on the floor on top of each other and then fold them over. This way you have the mats layered inside each other. You then want to pull out the inner mats a bit more than the one before it. This leaves the space for the mats to move around when rolled. Then just roll the mat as you would a single one. You need a container which can fit your mats. I recommend one in which you can fit them laying down. An upright container is also okay, but you always have to fill it with water all the way to the top. With a sideways container, you might only have to fill it partially. Especially with a smaller amount of mats, filling and emptying it is easier. The container needs a lid of some kind. You will also need some weights for the lid, as the tatami wants to float. I use kettlebells as I have them available, but stones or anything else heavy will do just fine. A lid with a clasp of some kind would also work. Dump all of the tatami into the container. Fill it with water so that the tatami is fully covered. It is easier if you can fill the container with the lid closed. As tatami floats, it is rather difficult to force the lid to close after the container is already filled with water. Let it soak for roughly a day. I found out that 12 hours is usually enough, so just get them soaking the day before. I would not recommend soaking the mats for over 24 hours. After you have soaked the tatami, it is a good idea to clean the container. The tatami water will start to smell and it will mold if left alone for a while. From experience, I can say that leaving the tatami water in the container for a week is not an especially bright idea. Now that the mats are soaking, it is a good time to stab that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Get the tatami out of the container and set it upright against a wall. Let it drain for a few minutes. This way you won't have the tatami dripping water all over the place. It can be possibly dangerous if the cutting area gets wet. To have tatami ready for cutting, build a tower out of it. It is a good idea to have a tarp or some plastic bags under the tatami tower. It makes cleaning up just that much easier. Lay tatami on the floor, side by side, until the row is as wide as the tatami are tall. Lay a second layer of tatami on top of the first one, sideways. Stack as many layers as you want. If the stack seems to be getting too tall, just make a new stack. If you need to transport or store the tatami for extended periods of time, put them in a plastic bag and close it tightly. Damp tatami stored like this usually holds up for a day or two. If you store tatami in this way and it gets a bit too dry, you can rehydrate it a bit. Simply have a bucket filled with water and let the tatami stand in it for a few minutes. After that, turn the tatami around and let it soak for another few minutes. This way, the already soaked in water can flow down and rehydrate the middle part which you can't submerge. Drain the tatami against a wall if it gets too wet. Naturally, You can also just submerge the whole tatami for a few minutes if you have the equipment for it. Take the mat to the stand. Adjust the bottommost rubber band to match the height of the peg. This will give a clear line not to cut under. There are two methods to spiking. The first one. Hold the tatami with both hands over the spike. Use your body weight to spike the tatami by bending your knees. The second one. Hold the tatami with both hands over the spike. Use your arms to spike the tatami. Both styles work, and which one to use seems to be up to personal preference. Straighten the mat. Turn the rolled edge away from the cutter. This makes it easier for the cutter to reel the tatami. The tatami is now ready to be cut. If you fail, there are few things you can try. Just try to spike it again, and turn the mat around if need be. Twist and push. Slam it down. Hammer it in. Before we get into the recap, go and tap that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. When purchasing tatami, make sure it's of a good quality. When rolling tatami, have the fold away from you. Using rubber bands to tie the mats is recommended. If you can't stick a finger into the hole in the center of a rolled up tatami mat, it is tight enough. When soaking tatami, have it completely submerged and have it soak at least overnight. Let the tatami drain for a few minutes against the wall after you take it out of the water. A wet tatami mat will hold for a couple of days in a tightly closed plastic bag. When spiking tatami, mark the end of the peg with the bottommost rubber band. This way it is easy to see where the peg ends and not cut it. If you fail to spike a mat, you can always try to force it in the rest of the way, or you can just try to spike it again.